The cursing of the fig tree. This story of the cursed fig tree, as narrated in Mark 11, often perplexes readers. It seems unjust at first glance. Jesus cursing a fig tree for being fruitless out of season. Yet this act is rich in symbolic meaning. The fig tree represents Israel, and its fruitlessness reflects spiritual barrenness despite appearances of life. Jesus' actions signify a warning against a faith that is superficial, lacking in genuine fruits of repentance and righteousness. It's a call for all believers to bear fruit in every season of our lives, demonstrating a living, active faith. This story isn't about the physical reality of the fig tree, but a deeper spiritual lesson on the expectations of fruitful living in God's kingdom. However, as time passed, the questions surrounding the actions of Jesus were resolved. This was because the true meaning embedded in the event was difficult to comprehend due to a lack of understanding and faith. After cursing the fig tree, Jesus entered the temple and drove out those who were buying and selling there, overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves, and did not allow anyone to carry merchandise through the temple courts. There is no other instance in the scriptures where the Lord displays such anger. The incident with the fig tree can easily be interpreted as showing Jesus in a narrow-minded light, and the overturning of the temple as reflecting a violent aspect of his character. However, the true meaning of these words can only be understood in the context of the parable found in Matthew 21, which begins with, "There was a landowner who planted a vineyard, put a wall around it, dug a winepress in it, and built a watchtower, then rented it out to some farmers, and moved to another country. However, when the time came to harvest fruit, he sent his servants to the tenants to collect his fruit. But the tenants beat some of the servants, killed others, and stoned others. Finally, he sent his son to them, thinking, 'They will respect my son.' But when the tenants saw the son, they said to each other, 'This is the heir. Come, let's kill him and take his inheritance.' So they threw him out of the vineyard and killed him." Of course, Jesus cursing the fig tree was not because the tree itself was at fault. However, from God's perspective, this fig tree symbolized the people of Israel. God had planted them in this land, given them an inheritance, and made them his people. Yet they forgot this fact, and, in the temple, colluded with those selling offerings, allowing only those offerings sold in the temple to be used for sacrifices, thus enabling the priests to profit. Just as the Lord's house was filled with the stench of decay, their condition was not one of lacking the time for bearing fruit, but rather, the time for fruit-bearing had already passed. For a long time, God sent his servants, urging through them that his people return to him, to become a fruit-bearing people who glorify God. However, they remained engrossed in idolatry and self-indulgence, bearing no fruit as God's people. Therefore, when Jesus, the Son, came to this earth, they captured and killed him too, offering him disgrace and shame instead of the glory and thanks that were his due, even going so far as to kill him. We must realize that God's bestowal of grace upon us today, granting us the blessed life of salvation, is not only for ourselves, but also to pass this grace on to our neighbors and those around us, to bring glory and praise to God for his grace. Therefore, there must be fruit in our lives when the Lord seeks it. Without this fruit, we too will end up like the cursed fig tree. The time when the Lord seeks fruit from us is not early but late, after he has sent servants, and then even more servants. We hope to have fruit to offer the Lord at that time. At any time and in any place, we hope to be God's children and people who bear fruit because of our God. Thus, on the day the Lord seeks us, we earnestly hope to be a living offering that joyfully presents to the Lord, saying, "Lord, Here is your produce.
구독, 좋아요, 알림 설정 해주세요. Subscribe, like, set notifications.